Jofra Archer has a jumper tied around his waist. Harry Brook is bowling off spin. Jadeja will not shake hands. Zach Crawley thinks he can be tricked into a draw. As a bouncer from root, declaration bowling when there is no actual possible declaration coming. These are the kinds of things that can only happen in a draw. A real draw, not like a rain or lost time or anything like that, but when both teams have gone all the way to the end of the match, exhausted, and no one can win. Silly time, where handshakes are the most important things that you've ever heard of, and you get the Ministry of Funny Walks bowling. But to get there, India had to put on two incredibly great partnerships. One starting with Wokes on a hat trick, and the other when it was incredibly hard for left-handers, even though India had like a load of them. All this without their number 5, who was either at the hotel or hiding in the back of the change room. India drew a test where for more than 2 sessions, the next man in was Shardul Thakur. And all of this is more wild because we don't even have tests like this anymore. We don't have draws with this much cricket being played. We don't have blocking out for nearly 2 days. And we don't really have day 5s at all. Today, India gave us all of that, and Harry Brook's off spin. It was an epic comeback that gave us 5 more days of life. Brian Lara used pot plants to work on his placement. John Wright glued his glove to his bat. Sachin Tendulkar dug up practice pitches. Tatenda Taibu cut the top off his bat. Claire Taylor used a hockey grip. Steve Smith was from tennis. Dean Jones would call phantom runs, and Victor Trumper turned the nets into a war zone to survive. The best batters in the world do whatever they have to make runs. We have told their stories in our new book, The Art of Batting. This year, 7% of matches have made it to the 5th day. We have 4-day tests already, we just haven't noticed. But this series has been an incredible outlier. What with the soft Dukes balls, the flat English wickets, and the competent batting displays all around, we've gone deep every opportunity. Since the pace-playing pandemic, day 5s really haven't been all that common. The combination of Bazball thinking and T20 thinking, the reinforced Kookaburra, and teams preparing pitches for points means that games just don't last all that long. Most fans don't even expect a team to try holding on for a draw. And when you look at it, no one has actually done it all that much. In the entire World Test Championship, we've only had 12 tests end in draws with more than 2,400 balls bowled, which is about 4.5 days of actual cricket. The last time a team really blocked out for a draw successfully was Karachi in 2023. That was when Sarfaraz Ahmed stole a draw from New Zealand with 1 wicket in hand. He was incredible in that match, and so of course only played 3 more games before never being seen again. A closer look at those 12 shows Karachi comes up 3 times and North Sound twice. So basically, there are 2 pitches in the world that actually give us draws without the need for rain or bad light. The rest of the time, no one gets draws. So teams don't get to day 5 and they don't play out for the draw. Indian pitches have been supersized for early wickets. So even compared to other sides, this is a team that was not really ready for the long ball. But this game had something else. In the history of the World Test Championship, we've never seen a drawn pitch average 60. That is a remarkable feat. And if you talk to a Lancashire County member, they'll say that they probably never want to see it again after all the county games and then this. This pitch is Karachi and North Sound like. Even when the ball kept low, no one could take wickets here. This was India's big advantage. One they really tried to shit on royally by losing 2 wickets in the first over of the innings when they needed to bat more than 150 of them. They lost 20% of their resources before punters had actually sat back down in their seats. Being that their number 5 was also fairly unlikely to bat on day 4 anyway, they were potentially none for 3. It's never actually a good sign when a scorecard looks so bad, you have to wonder whether the game is in Australia or not. But if India had an advantage, it's that they bat a long way down the order. And in a world of ball strikers, they have a lot of players who play very late. For a long time, the phrase KL is nothing like Virat Kohli has been used as a stick to beat the middling batter with. But in England, he makes runs precisely because he's nothing like his former teammate. Kohli has never seen a ball he doesn't want to meet. He's like a greeter at Walmart, aggressively getting to his target. KL plays late. His normal place to strike the ball is approaching posthumous. He hits the ball under his eyes, which helps him against the moving ball in England. It's also built for drawing innings on slowest pitches with uneven bounce. If India could have gotten him on strike for the first over, they might have actually been able to keep the rest of their top order around. In the UK so far, he's looked every bit the player he was once hyped to be. The only way he could be dismissed was from Ben Stokes rolling one along the ground from a short length. His partner Shubman Gill was also taken by a surprise ball. Jofra Archer was trying to bring the ball back in and somehow made it go the other way. And so it made Gill look like he was fending at the wrong delivery. But really, he was just beaten by a bit of a weird ball. But before that, he batted for basically an entire day, only stopping routinely to shake his fingers. Does wobbling your hand around violently help with crushed digits? Only Shubman Gill will know. But again, he looked largely on rails, except for every few hours when he tried to slash the ball in the air on the offside, only for England to drop him. Both of these guys had amazing control through their partnership. And so when they made a mistake, it really had to be taken because they weren't going to give a lot more. And Jadeja gave one as well. His shot, a soft attempt at a first ball uppercut, was really the only major mistake he made all day. And Root dropped it with his right, and then his left, and then his right hand again. It was only one chance, but with the 3 drops. Then the all-rounder went back to God mode. Well, his version of it. He was bringing you down to the canvas with a series of the softest-handed blows ever seen. There are times when it sounds like he's using day-old damp lettuce instead of his bat. But right now, in 2 straight knocks, he has almost stolen a match and did in fact pinch a draw. He feels like a perfect player for this situation, but usually he isn't. He's not really been a good bat for India in the closing of matches. Perhaps being crease-bound causes an issue, or batting against the footmarks and left-arm finger spinners late on Indian tracks. But the thing he doesn't do that he has done like a golden god in this series is just been absolutely incredible batting at the end of games. And it's not even as if he's done it the same way twice. At Lord's, he went too slow. Here, he batted quite quick. I mean, he just goes at his own pace, no matter what. He's had a career where only in the 4th innings does he average less with the bat than the ball. And then suddenly he's decided to be Yunus Khan at the end of all these matches. And we also need to talk about England's left-arm spinner too, because he played a role in this. The Hampshire spinner who last bowled in a test, I don't know, before the Nintendo Switch was invented, has really struggled. He had little patches where the ball did things for him, but in large parts, he couldn't dump the ball in the footmarks, which was like 80% of his job. And then on top of that, he argued with his fearless leader, Ben Stokes. The captain wanted him to try around the wicket more, or just to vary his angle. But Dawson, a player very set in his own ways, releases the ball from where he wants, and that's how it goes. So there were several uncomfortable moments out there. And this week has not been a good advert for Dawson's talent. He dropped a catch that probably opened the door for it. Then Rehan Ahmed and Tom Hartley, neither of which have done much this year, when it took like 1 million wickets. Truthfully, Dawson was not picked to bowl out India on day 5 when they are blocking. He doesn't really have that gear. He's not a bad 4th inning spinner, but he's not going to rock your socks off either. Sadly for England though, he wasn't alone. Outside of Ben Stokes' bowling, England's attack looked unable to do anything on this pitch. Bryden Cast was almost forgotten about. Chris Stokes eventually just became an off-spinner, and Jofra Archer found a weird time to become better against right-handers than against left. Because when Gill was out, England should have been massively on top. The new ball was there, and Archer had 2 lefties to aim at, and Dawson had been getting some good spin and bounce. In fact, Washington hadn't been playing him that well, and it felt like there would be another wicket. But one massive thing went into India's favour at this point. The real issue on this pitch was facing from the Anderson end, especially bowling over the wicket. If you hit the 8-metre mark, you could hit Gill in the helmet or KL in the knee roll. But that line didn't work to the lefties as they couldn't get out LBW from it. And so when you switched to bowling around, if the ball kept low, it was safely outside off stump. So it wasn't like this pitch was completely flat, because that would actually be an odd way of looking at it. It was, though, hard to be dismissed, and at one end, even harder to take down a left-hander. And remember, India had a fucking truckload of them. They were like southpaw doomsday preppers, and it worked. And Washington Sundar deserves a lot of credit for this. Carroll was seemingly built for England. Shubman Gill is batting on rails, and Ravi Jadeja is finding a new level of beast mode that he's never found before. But Washington doesn't even know what spot Gautam Gambhir's shuffle batter order is going to use him in from innings to innings. In the same match, he's been behind Shardul Thakur and ahead of Ravi Jadeja. This man has batting vertigo. And on top of all that, he just hasn't played much first-class cricket. In fact, he barely plays in the IPL, and he is not good batting late in matches. And yet, he did not give a chance. Sure, at times he played the short ball like the world's slowest moving snake was rearing up at him. And he did have some concern with the foot marks. But this was some knock from your number 8, or your number 9, or your number 5, or whatever the hell Washington Sundar is. But the weirdest thing about all of this is how come India looked outside of a couple of mad overs. Teams are just not used to blocking out draws. It's supposed to be impossible for the T20 generation. And in this World Test Championship cycle, teams don't even really look at it as an option. Even in the years before that, the pattern was set. Teams don't really know how to block the ball with the game on the line. And there just aren't that many overs of fifth-day bowling that people face. This was a flat pitch, but it was unmistakably a fifth-day one, with foot marks and weird bounce. And also, with all that, they had to fear for 4 sessions that one wicket could open the entire thing up. There were 2 lots of new balls to go up against, Ben Stokes bowling until he was nothing more than transplanted red hair and a grimace. And in the end, that was all England were left with. It was them who wanted to shake hands early, remember. There was no point to go on. India had completely choked them out of the contest. With an extra day of cricket, the tourists actually would have ended up as favourites. Such was the ferocity of their rearguard. In an era of no draws, India blocked the shit out of England so much that they not only didn't lose, they maybe got the moral victory. England was left to sulk and moan amongst themselves. Bazball was given one hell of a beating. But most of all, India won the moment after having lost so many in this series. They were not out there batting to win, but just to stay alive. And now thanks to that, they and this series continue to live.
Ross Taylor couldn't see at night or when the clouds were in. Eventually he had to see an eye specialist who would fix his eyesight. In the 2 years before the change, he still averaged more than 50 in international cricket. The top level of batting talent can basically see in the dark. That is who we are talking about in our new book, The Art of Batting. Head over and order your copy today.